Good evening and welcome to tonight's monthly ATB meetup that is being hosted by MEXC. Oh, it feels a little bit dark. All right, a little bit too much mood lighting. All right, tonight's agenda, I'm just going to do a few quick announcements. Going to hand it over to Matt, who's going to talk about some events. Then we're going to hand it over to Jory, who's going to take you through a presentation. I think we have a lot more merch and some tickets to the Australian Crypto Convention. Anybody already got their tickets to the Australian Crypto Convention? Few? All right, well, anybody that wants a ticket, pay attention. I think they win by playing Kahoot. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Danielle Marie. I wear many different hats, but I am one of the original founders of All Things Blockchain. And I also recently founded Evolver, which is an education and mentorship platform specifically focused on supporting more women to enter in the space. Our vision here at All Things Blockchain, we are a nonprofit association. I've always felt that this is a community for the community by the community, and we host monthly meetups since November 2020. And we're pretty proud of some of the stats that we've gotten up to. We've hosted over 10,000 attendees, over 160 events, 12 per year here in Brisbane, and we've recently started going global, what Matt will talk a little bit about later. Although myself and my co-founder are the ones that are the driving force behind this, we couldn't do this without our team, especially Renee, who puts on this amazing platter that you've all been enjoying. So can we please give her a round of applause? Because if I was doing it, you'd just be getting plain crackers and cheese. And then, yes, we've got the rest of the team here who help and support us. We're always looking for contributors, so if there's anybody that wants to get involved and get started, please reach out to myself or Matt. We're always looking for extra volunteers and help. Now, these events would not happen without our sponsors, so we always like to give them a big shout out. This is how these events, the food, the drinks, the overhead, the expenses, all covered by our sponsors. So we have this community hub and newsletter. I really don't like calling it a newsletter. If anybody can come up with a better name, let me know. But essentially all it is we list all of the upcoming events, both locally, nationally, and globally. And then we also share the recordings of our online events and then any of the events that we live stream. So if you miss any events or if you want to know what's happening, you can go ahead and you can sign up to our newsletter. We are welcoming our new sponsor, Ming Dao La. Now, we're actually in the process of locking in all of our sponsors for 2026, and I'm actually proud to say that we've filled over half of our positions so far. I think that's like record timing. So please, if anyone's interested, act quick. We've also recently partnered with Paris Blockchain Week. Just out of curiosity, has anyone ever been to Paris Blockchain Week? Well, me neither. But some exciting news is if you do want to go, for some reason, we have a discount code, but we also will be giving away tickets. Now, not tonight. We will be giving away tickets for our online activations. We also have recently partnered with Consensus. Has anybody ever been to a Consensus event? Okay, we've got a few. This one's a little bit closer. It's in Hong Kong, so you know it's not as far of a way. You also, and this is in February. You get 15% discount on your tickets, but we also have tickets that we'll be giving away. So please keep your eyes and ears open. Join us for our online activations, and you could be potentially winning a free ticket to go to either Paris or to Consensus. So we do collaborate with other different organizations. The most recent one is Stand With Crypto, Paris Blockchain Week Consensus, DECA, which is the Digital Economy Council of Australia, and then obviously Australian Crypto Convention, where Matt will be talking about. We'll be hosting a couple, sorry, I'm losing my voice. I just got back from Token 49. Where we'll be hosting some events. With our collaboration partners, we are building out an education hub. I know that there's quite a few, especially Margaret and Martin. I'd say they're probably the two best students that I had over the whole 8 weeks. They turned up every single week. So well done to them. But we have a lot more coming, and we'll be doing a lot more workshops. Stand with Crypto have actually just kind of come on board as our first educational and scholarship sponsor. So stay tuned for that. More to come, especially next year. We always like to give a big shout out to Advance Queensland. This is a government building, and they allow us to operate and host these events. And I believe Matt's going to talk about it next year. We have already locked in the 4th Tuesday of every month all next year. So thanks to Advance Queensland. They let us book a year in advance. So big shout out to Advance Queensland. And then also a big shout out to Pixel Castle, who helps us with all of our live streaming. This year we wanted to test how could we grow more globally and online. And we gave it a red hot crack at doing it live streaming, which I believe that we have some people joining us online. I'm going to pass it over to Matt before I lose my voice completely. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please join us online if you want to win some tickets to Consensus and to Paris Blockchain Week. And welcome up Matt Hooper.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. All right, most of you will know me. I'm Matt Hooper, co-founder and current chairperson of All Things Blockchain. And we're just going to talk about a few events before we get on to the real meat of tonight with Joe from MEXC. Talking about events, we ran 3 side events up in Singapore last week. It really was a thrill, and they were all well attended. We had around 15 at yoga there at 8:30 in the morning. It was a pretty good turnout, and you can see BC Game provided a whole heap of hilarious merch, including that inflatable crocodile, which did actually rotate. Sorry, Lisa? I took the picture. Yeah, that's right. No, I didn't get down into my trunks. Great merch at that one. Then we moved on at 10 o'clock to the She Connects event with Evolve Her. This was also attended. Rough numbers are about 80 at this one. There's Danielle in that striking pink, which actually matches the brand really well. I don't know if that was I'm sure it is intentional. Oh, really? Okay, we believe you. But it was a great venue, rooftop bar on the 27th floor there at the Moon Rooftop Bar. And then at midday, on the same day, we went 3 events like this back to back to back. We had the GameFi Unleashed, which was with a layer 1 called MEXC, and also Earnscape, which is a mobile streaming platform which functions particularly well in countries with low bandwidths like 3G connections and above. So if you want to find out any more about what our sponsors are offering, do come up and see Danielle or myself. And that was a lot of fun. That one had about 110 people at it on a Tuesday lunchtime in Singapore the day before Token. So we're pretty stoked with those numbers, and this is just the beginning. So next month we all have we have a Brisbane hiatus. We're actually running a couple of events interstate. So we've got an event. It's going to be the Saturday of Oz CryptoCon. That's just changed in the last few days. It's going to be the Saturday night of Oz CryptoCon. We're running a side event. Keep an eye out for that announcement. Did you like my Canva skills are going up? Yeah, I'm getting more confident and comfortable with Canva, so I'm doing little features like there's another one coming up on the next slide. So I've got to have my dad joke. Oh, thank you. Who needs to pay a graphic designer from Philippines when I can do that? It is that then on the before the Blockies, which is on the 28th. I've got a slide about that in a minute. In Melbourne, Australia, we will have a side event as well at HWLE Lawyers. They've rebranded themselves at. Before all that, we've got an AMA with our good friend Deb. Most of you will have been at Deb's in-person event with us this year. Deb is an incredibly smart woman and also a very astute businesswoman. She's going to be talking us through how to successfully grind to create a successful business in Web3. And she really does have a lot of, I don't think she want me to call it tales from the trenches, but they're kind of tales from the trenches that we're going to find out about on next week's call. Really good next Tuesday night. All these QR codes, they are trustworthy. I verified them myself. Our Canva hasn't been hacked. You can safely click through to join our Luma calendar and keep an eye on everything that we're doing all around the world. Danielle and I will be running the She Connects event inside the conference. I think that one is on the Sunday. It's in the building. It's going to be on the Sunday. That much we do know. On the Sunday of Oz CryptoCon. Speaking of Oz CryptoCon, it really is getting close now. You can use our code ATB15 to get a little 15% discount off tickets. Again, it's clicking through on that code, or check out ozcryptocon.com. And there's our the Blockies plug. So the Blockies is on the Friday night this year in Melbourne. the week following Oz CryptoCon, and keep your eyes out, I should say, for the December Bybit event. That'll be announced shortly, noting no Brisbane event next first Tuesday. So no first Tuesday event in November, but we will be back with Bybit to round out the year in December. And I think that's just about all my slides. Oh, did you see it? There it was. There was it flew in there. But anyway, there it is. See, it flew off. Enough out of me. It's over to Jory from MEXC. We've got a question from Margaret. Sorry? The Christmas party's TBA. Christmas party could be at a local hotel or a park. We're not sure. We've literally got so much going on. Yeah, that's okay. But yeah. Actually, we can maybe have a festive theme for the Bybit event. That's a good idea, Margaret. Thank you for bringing that social touch. Here's Jory from MEXC. Come on up.
Yeah. Here we go. Okay, here we go. So just so you know, enjoy a bit of it. If you have questions along the way, am I in the wrong spot? Oh, there we go. We're on. Yeah, if you do have questions along the way, by all means, throw a hand up or just yell out. Generally, I'm used to people yelling at me. So I have 3 kids. I don't want this to just be a shill fest. Oh, just cut me off at shill. There we go. But I will do a small amount of shilling to begin with before we get into a topic that I think is a little bit more relevant for where we are in the market, etc. Also, if you're wondering why I've been half called Joe and half called Jory, if you come and ask me later, I'll tell you that story as well. So I'm Jory for MEXC Ventures specifically. So the quick shill here. We are the next generation of DEX and CEX integration, which will make more sense after I've talked to you more about this entire presentation. So what MEXC Ventures does, so we have a few different arms to MEXC themselves. So we have MEXC Ventures, we have MEXC Foundation, we have MEXC, the global exchange. So specifically this presentation is from MEXC Ventures. However, I'll give you a quick overview of the foundation as well. The foundation is doing a lot of stuff with universities and with a variety of different schooling things to help upskill people to be employable in the blockchain space. So we have an online course you can go on and you can sort of tick some of the boxes. If you have no idea about anything to do with blockchain, you want to know how to get into the industry, you can go to the MEXC Foundation page and you can do a mini course on stuff to basically get your toes wet and have a better understanding about a few different things around the industry itself. The Ventures arm is something that maybe you have or haven't heard about. We have strategic investments in a variety of things, all the way from TON through to Aptos and then smaller projects as well. So the Venture arm here in Australia, we have $500 million worth of assets under management and 300 plus protocols or projects in the portfolio. I won't go on too much about these things, like I said. And so, as I said before, we've got TON, Athena, Aptos, also the largest holder of USDCEs and exchange as well. But I think Binance is coming to the party with that too. But we were first, so that's the most important thing. Okay, so here's some things. I know it says there MEXC and that's what it stands for, but is that actually what it stands for? Probably not, which you might find out later in the Kahoot. So the vision for us is to become everybody's easiest way to crypto. If you've used crypto in any sense, you know that if you don't know stuff about crypto, it's not necessarily the most user-friendly thing. So we're trying to bring a lot of things together where it can be your easiest place to access a variety of different things, whether that's from a decentralized sense or a centralized sense, still using the same platform. So that is a frontier, which I'm going to dive into a lot more now with this specific presentation on the differences between centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges. So before we get into that, does everybody know what a centralized exchange is? You've heard of one? You know it exists? Specifically, yes. Specifically yours only, not anybody else's. So, yeah, there you go. You've got that. So a centralized exchange, the difference would be obviously it's controlled by an entity. A decentralized exchange is what I would expect is how I'd explain is controlled by the people, just like a farmer's market in a sense. So each has their benefits and drawbacks, which we're going to go through. Before I continue on, has everybody heard of MEXC before? Before right now? I was going to say, I shield you at the door. Everybody should say yes. So, but yeah, so if you haven't, I'm happy to dive more into more of the degeneracy of the conversation later, because we have plenty of good topics and points that I want to talk about. But before we do that, let's dive into this, a balanced future and what it looks like for where we're going in terms of the industry. So like I said, I want to do a little bit of shilling, but also want to do something that's somewhat educational. So if you do have questions, by all means, yell out. So what are some of the challenges we're facing in the crypto space generally? And as like from a centralized exchange perspective, we have custody risks, we have regulatory pressures, complicated listing processes, all that sort of stuff that is combined. Like so, from a user, you might not see that perspective of it because obviously you're not on this side of the fence. So, but that's some of the struggles I think that maybe the standard user doesn't understand that we have as exchanges to consider when we're moving into markets, when we're moving into listing tokens, all that sort of stuff. And then on the other end of the scale, you have decentralized exchanges, complex user interfaces, high gas fees, fragmented liquidity, cross-chain trading issues. So has everybody done stuff decentralized before? Do you all have a Web3 wallet or anything like that? Yep, some of you guys. So one of these things I think that really puts it in perspective, this cycle, let's call it, this super cycle even, how many of you joined cryptocurrency specifically in this cycle? None of you. That's unbelievable. One. Okay. Anybody else? Just one human? That's unbelievable. There we go. This is a thoroughly pure crypto group. Last cycle, so think like 2020, 2021, got wrecked at the top there. Anybody bought the top? Yeah, don't be scared. It's totally fine. You're not alone. There's a lot of people. And then what about the cycle before that? 16, 17, 18, somewhere around there. That was the good stuff. Like that was the ICO, like just here's an address, YOLO some money here and you might get something back. That was the best. Oh, that was the best. So I find though, so I've given this speech or this talk specifically at another venue where it was mostly regulatory compliance, right? And when I asked that question, so this group is very different. You guys would be happy to know that as a majority, you're a lot further in to crypto than the other venues. So these were the people that were making the laws, et cetera, around these things. And I was giving this similar presentation. And most of them have never used crypto or they've only just started using crypto, which, I mean, maybe that's a sign that we're early, but also is that like that's a thing where it's like we're coming to the party now where these things are becoming a poignant topic for people to understand better. And so has everybody used a bridge before? There we go. Like I find the further you go into DeFi and you start asking these questions, like you'll get people that go, yeah, I've used a DEX. Yeah, I've used a wallet. And then you start going down the rabbit hole. It's like, I've used a bridge. I've used Cosmos, for example. Like once you start getting way down there and you're doing like bribes market and things like that, you start to lose a lot of the audience because they have no idea what's going on. So that is some of the complicated things I think that we're experiencing with, like as a DEX interface. If you had to go and grab your neighbor right now and set them up with Web3 wallet and show them how to use a decentralized exchange, how long is that going to take you? Yeah, 100%. And like these are some of the issues, like even understanding what does fragmented liquidity mean? Like you have to then explain, okay, well there's like, imagine there's a lot of different cars and they all take different fuel and that's effectively what this is. Yeah, so like it's trying to understand all the complexities. So in terms of making this easy for the future, these are things that we need to address. Okay, so a centralized exchange, as like I said, I'm basically preaching to the choir here. I'm sure you guys have a much better understanding than my last audience for this specific topic, but like a bank for your crypto, run by a company that holds it for you. So I suppose that you're at their mercy because they own that company and they're holding your assets. And you create an account, sometimes you pass KYC, ID checks, deposit money, and you trade using their platform specifically. So some of the things that are good about that, because there are definitely strengths about centralized exchanges, which obviously I should be saying. So liquidity and speed. We are seeing, I suppose, adaptations as a side note. Like now we've got Asta, now we've got Hyperliquid and things like that. That's sort of changing the game a little bit in terms of the perps market. But what centralized exchange traditionally have had over decentralized is the speed and liquidity of what we can do for traders. We have advanced features, margins, futures, staking, all that sort of stuff that's actually in one centralized location, which in this sense, centralization is actually somewhat better. And then here's the random data point. The average CEX trading volume, finality is under 1 second. If you go to a decentralized exchange, it's between 12 and 60. As I said, I think that we're coming to a point now where that's becoming slightly different with Asta, with Avantis, is that right? Yep, and then Hyperliquid as well. They're changing that a little bit in how they operate, but the data previous was that 12 to 60 seconds for a transaction. So if you're a scalper, and if we ask Renee, I'm sure she'll agree, if you had to wait 12 to 60 seconds to enter your trade, how wrecked are you? Yeah, wrecked, exactly. It's over, the dream's over. She's already in and out, there we go. Yeah, as you're waiting, you're like, oh no, yeah, exactly. So then we have the cons and limitations. So if we look at custody risks, so we have Mt. Gox, we have FTX, most recently we had Bybit. Something as a side note that I think that I'm super excited for in terms of where I think we're going as an industry. And this is, I suppose, a shout out to Bybit, which, you know, it's obvious competitor of ours, but we had the FTX hack was somewhere between $600 to $800 million worth of value. Or not hack, the whatever fiasco, let's call it, whatever that was somewhere between $600 and $800 million worth. That sent us into a catastrophic bear market as sort of a catalyst, and then, you know, we had several years worth of pure sadness. Then we had Bybit, and they had their exploit, and it was for $1.4 billion, which is basically double. And they were just like, oh, well, that's very annoying, but it's all good. We got your funds. Everybody relax. So as an industry, we're coming a long way in terms of how we operate, and that comes down to everybody has now proof of currency, proof of funds. You can have a level of reliability there that there are checks and balances because of the regulatory framework that is coming through with general top-tier centralized exchanges as well. So while that's still a con or a limitation as a custody risk, like if it's not your keys, it's always not your crypto, but that is something that I think has come a long way, just as a side note. There's also regulatory limitations, geographic restrictions. If you're everybody's used a VPN at some stage, I imagine. And if you try to use some of the exchanges from the US, you're not getting in. So you have to put your VPN somewhere else. So like there are geographic restrictions on some things, and obviously transparency issues. Everybody says they've got stuff, but do they actually have stuff, and how can you actually verify those things? So, and you won't know until you know, basically. So as data point, chain-agnostic reports $3.8 billion lost in exchange hacks in 2022 to 2024, 75 of which were CEX incidents. So obviously, though, 1.4 of that is the Bybit exploit, but that still leaves a significant amount there of stuff that's been taken down. So this is where I'd give a little plug as well. If you're looking for a verifiably decent platform, like there are platforms you can look at, you know, if you go to CoinMarketCap or you go to CoinGecko, you can see where exchanges rank in what their, I suppose, customer safety value is. Which if you look on CoinGecko, we're number 2. Thank you very much. Okay, so if we go then to decentralized exchange, so as I said before, just like a farmer's market. So if you've got, it's the community coming together to create a place where everybody can trade their things for something else. So we have this decentralized aspect. That would be the difference, where there's no single one owner per se of the liquidity in the pool, and we're combining together to create a platform where we can all share in the ability to exchange. And so it's not then centralized ownership. So no central company. You keep your funds in your own wallet, you connect it to the DEX to trade. Obviously, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, everybody's used these things. Everybody's used Uniswap. Yeah, Uniswap users. Yep, cool. Yep, nailed it. Okay, so some of the good things: you keep your sovereignty. You get to keep your private keys. You get to keep your funds in your wallet, and you only interact with that when you're interacting with it. And then you can obviously renounce contracts, etc. You don't have to KYC. Generally, there are some where it's starting to become a thing, but generally you don't have to KYC, and you have global access wherever you are. Transparency. Everything's on chain. That's obviously a huge thing as well. Composability, which means that you have integration with other DeFi products and projects, so you can compound yield, you can do all sorts of different stuff. So there are benefits in terms of if you are a user that has the ability, you can compound more things to get more yield from it. So PancakeSwap, Uniswap together handle over 350 billion in trading volume. So that's massive, obviously. In terms of where it's going for actual user use. Yeah. Okay, so some of the things that would be cons or limitations. So we have wallet management, gas fees, intimidating to newcomers. Like I just said before, imagine trying to explain to your neighbor, okay, you're going to have to do all these things to be able to actually participate just to make yourself like swap. Imagine if we had the same rules if you were going to Coles to go shopping for food. And you're like, okay, when you go to Coles, like, you're going to have to take down this random token. It's going to be gas for Coles. You need Coles gas. And then when you go down this aisle, but that aisle is going to be different to this aisle because that's a different gas to this one. And you need that one. But if you want to go across chain to this other bridge, you have to use that specific aisle to get from there to over there. Like, that's a mess. That's a mess. But that's sort of what we're dealing with in DeFi, where it takes almost a course to understand how to use it. That doesn't mean that it's not amazing and it doesn't provide a whole lot of different things, but there is a learning curve to actually be able to use it. So we have liquidity fragmentation, which is the aisle example I just gave before. So when you have a centralized exchange, you have a density of asset, let's say. So there's a whole host of USDT assets on there all in one place where you have the order book depth that you can use for your trading. Whereas if we have, Solana is a perfect example here in terms of pump.fund, for example. How much Solana is now locked in contracts that we can never re-access because there's 50,000 tokens made a day. So we've got fragmented liquidity everywhere, and that's just Solana as an example. Obviously, if you want to do cross-chain swaps and everything like that, we've got, you need to have a pool here, you need to have a pool there, you need to have a pool there. They're not conjoined. Once again, an asterisk on that. I think Aster is doing something about that where you can use several sets of orders across different places. So yeah, like, there are advancements coming with that. And obviously we have the risk of smart contract exploits, $1.2 billion stolen from DeFi protocols in 2024. I think one of the most recent ones that's relevant is Cetus on Sui for 300 million or something like that. So, it is still something that is happening now, and that's because as people get better at writing contracts, as we get better at using AI and all this sort of stuff to make our lives easier and to make projects building easier, obviously then the people that are exploiting the things make their lives easier by using AI to do the same thing. So, same. Okay, so what does it look like going forward? We have centralized exchanges dominating the entry point for most places, and that's because purely, and here's in Australia is a perfect example, if you want to get money into DeFi, how do you have to do it? You have to go through a centralized exchange, right? Mostly. There are other ways, but the easiest way for any normal human being that doesn't know much is they would first go to a centralized exchange. Like I said, there are other ways, but that would be, for most people, the standard entry point. So they dominate the market because they're controlling people's entry and exit from the market back to their traditional dollar. So $3.9 trillion worth of spot volume versus 877 billion in Q2 2025 shows the differences in current use case, and that, like I said, that probably purely comes down to use of ease. It's a lot easier to use a centralized exchange at this stage. However, we're seeing a great deal more being captured in decentralized exchanges as we move forward. So 27.9% I think is still a massive amount of growth in the decentralized area. But once again, it comes down to that education. People need to understand how to use it and how to get in order for that to grow. So, yeah, 9.384, yeah, perfect. So what does it look like as just a snapshot? Your CEXs, your entry ramps, institutional infrastructure, high volume venues, and your DEXs are innovation hubs, DeFi gateways, privacy preserving alternatives. But what does then the future look like? And that is convergence. And we're seeing this already, and I will have a little more shield here at the end, which you'll understand in a second. So we're watching walls come down, liquidity is flowing between CEXs and DEXs as well. We're seeing a cross-collaboration future where both of them are being used in equal amounts for people to be able to get the best out of both worlds. So what does that look like for the future? And that's a great question, because we have obviously institutional payment rails coming in and things like that. And we're having a lot of protocols now being built to allow these things where centralized exchanges will work in with decentralized platforms to house on-chain baskets, all sorts of stuff. There's actually a new Ethereum standard, I think it's 7261 or something like that. Don't quote me on the number, but it's purely around baskets for like institutional assets. So there's a whole nother thing that's being plugged in for that, and that comes from being able to use convergence between centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, and how they can integrate together. So that brings us to what does that look like? And that brings me to my final shield for the night. So MEXC, for example, we have something called DEX Plus, and that means that you can use your wallet on our platform to use our liquidity and all that sort of stuff, but you're not leaving the safety of your own decentralized platform effectively. So you can harvest the liquidity and go through things like into pools on Solana, for example, where you can access some of the early startup stuff if you want to play in the degen pools or in the trenches, as they say. You can do that from our platform using your own wallet with DEX Plus as a plugin. So like I said, we're getting that convergence, and it's not just us. There are other plenty, I won't name them because for obvious reasons, but there are plenty of other exchanges as well that have their own wallet for DeFi, that have their own plugins for DeFi. So we are starting to see that from an institutional level as well, where it's not just us that's building these innovations. So these things are coming, and it's going to be a conjoined future where I see it's not one wins and the other loses. It's conjointly, they both win together. So why choose DEX Plus? No external wallet management, simple trading process. Like I said, a quick shill, cross-chain trading made easy. We have the depth of liquidity to be able for you to go in and out of different chains. Whereas one of the hard things from, I suppose, your own decentralized journey is, as I said before, if you're on Solana and you want to play on Ethereum, you have to then find a way to take your Solana stuff and put it onto Ethereum. So whether that's a bridge, whether that's, going into a centralized exchange and back out on different rails, like I'm sure we've all tried all the different bits and pieces to be able to do that. So having the DeFi ability to be able to do that using the centralized exchange platform, but still from your DeFi centric area, like that creates a big difference. And that's the end of my presentation. However, you can clap if you want, and then we can do questions. Up to you. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Get the mic to that then. Herman's usually got a belter. Let's get him on the mic. We need it for the Zoom.
Yeah, just I'm wondering, are you an Australian registered entity, and users, or Australian users on MEXC, on the centralised platform, are those trades, are they being reported to Austrac?
So at the moment, we're working through with our compliance for the back end for what that looks like for us to move forward as MEXC. So that's something that I know they're having conversations about, where we aren't at that stage yet, but that's happening. In terms of reporting, I don't have an answer for that. I'm unsure.
Any other questions? Oh.
None? Was it that bad? Come on.
Well, I thought that was quite informative, actually. Big round of applause for Jory. We need to uplift the. We need to lift the mood here.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Oh, that was quite good. Just stay between your orange dots for the camera. For the camera, yeah.
Just in case anybody's wondering, these
fully professional with the videographer here. Danielle usually has also something of a provocative question. Let's see what she's got for us tonight.
Provocative question.
Is it time to play Kahoot?
Very soon. I was trying to milk one more question out of them, but I'm itching for the Kahoot myself because we've got music in now. It's going to be great. Any other questions about MEXC? Guyan. Let's go to Guyan.
Doesn't even have to be about MEXC. You can ask anything.
A life question? How's your family? How's life in Southeast Queensland?
Oh, it's pretty good. Kids are good. They've gone back to school today, so that's a lot less stressful.
That was a risk when we put this event on. It's always a risk, but
best. Look at that.
All
kids
good.
At school. Fantastic.
Here's Guyan.
Hey, so you mentioned DEX is kind of like a mix between centralized versus the decentralized thing, right? How does it actually at a very high level, how do you put the two together in your case, so that we understand what actually happens?
That is a great complicated question. So I suppose it uses MEXC as a platform to be able to house your accesses using our pools as well. So you're accessing through MEXC's framework to be able to plug into the pools, and those pools plug in back to MEXC, but you're using the framework of what MEXC provides. There would be a docs on this somewhere online, and probably not something that I can just off the top of my head be it works exactly like this, because not a dev. I know how to plug in and use it, but I couldn't explain, I suppose, the back end intricacies of what that looks like.
There's a supplementary. Sorry, there's a supplementary from Guyan.
I'm just curious, what part is centralized and what part is not decentralized? Is the actual buying and selling happening on a decentralized?
Yeah, so
Like-
the chain itself, so you plug in through the platform. So just as a user experience, you would plug your wallet into our DEX Plus, which is on the exchange, but you're still inside your own wallet. So let's say MetaMask, you plug that in, connect it through the exchange itself. But then you're using that platform to then be able to access your local DEXs on Solana, for example, like Radium. So then that's the on-chain transaction happening. Yeah, so like I said, like from a dev perspective, I can't give any more information. That's so apologies if anybody wants more than that from that perspective. But from a user perspective, that's basically the journey. Yes, sir.
Yeah, without releasing any proprietary MEXC information, just curious as what kind of, can you give us some indication as to the growth in terms of the number of users or the amount of volume of going through your exchange? Can you share anything about that?
So I can give you data that is easily accessible for everybody on things like CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko and things like that. So, God, is that me doing that? Okay, cool. So as an example, we as an exchange have between, depending on the day, $6 and $8 billion worth of spot trading in your 24-hour period. And I checked the other day, I don't know if this is specifically like this week data, but probably higher because I think things are starting to go up in terms of general people being involved with BTC all-time high day this morning, if you're awake for it. But like I've seen, we had $23 billion worth of derivatives volume as well. I think last time I had a look on those platforms. So like I said, that's just data. You can just look it up on CoinGecko, on CoinMarketCap as well, and you can see that there.
And one other related question, it's do you have any way of telling like if the users, the people who are starting to use your service have been in the cryptocurrency arena for years, or if they're relatively new people?
As in, do we as an exchange have a way to see when they come in, if they've been in for a long period of time? Is that the
Or
question?
maybe if you guys have done marketing exercises to assess your customer base.
That's a great question. I don't necessarily have a specific answer for that. Like, as in, when people come in, I know that what we do have in terms of a learning. So for new people, we do have a platform. You can go and do this is exactly what this is. This is what all these things mean. Here's like a mini course on how to use it. Look, total transparency, I think that could be better presented because it's sort of hidden with some of the other stuff that we have in there, which are like, we have such a wide variety of products. And for anybody that's been onto any centralized exchange before as well, like if you're not a user that knows specifically what you're looking for, you can get pretty lost in there. But so I know we have a learning platform where you can go and it'll take you through like an ABCs, like start here. This is about spot. This is about all the other stuff that's on offer. So we have that as something that people can access. Whether we have data on this many people are new to crypto or this many people are more DeFi, because you're not surveyed when you come in, obviously, that's not something I suppose we would have access to that data.
Thank you. Great question. All right, any last questions before we get itchy to press the Kahoot start button? Danielle says it's time for the Kahoot. Big round of applause for Jory. There is one more. Uncle Ray?
Can't escape all the
Ray,
way.
while I load the Kahoot, maybe I'll give Ray the mic. Excellent.
It's probably chasing up from Graham's question as well. Using your own wallet, having your own pools. So what's a typical trading type adventure that, like, I want to sell some Bitcoin or something from my wallet, I get it USDT, but if I'm using my wallet, how do I get the other currency out? And is the times for transactions somewhere in between or near instantaneous? Are you taking advantage of
That's a great question. I don't know the specific answer to that. I'd have to do more degenning myself to give you a real specific answer around like what the difference is between using the finality on ours and the finality, for example, on different wallets. I know that it plugs into our liquidity engine, so it has more readily available funds, but also too, I suppose one of the benefits of using it is you can plug into, for the degens in the room, like you can plug straight into some of like something like pump.fund offers, but you can do it straight from your exchange, like through your own wallet. So it just opens up a whole lot of doors, and I still think there's a long way to go in a lot of the things that are there. So it does offer a unique product in how it can plug in, and it's probably it's the bridge for people that maybe aren't ready to completely leave an exchange and go full DeFi. Whereas if you're somebody that's been in cryptocurrency for a long time and you're like, I've got a Solana, I've got a Phantom, I've got a MetaMask, I've got blah, 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 you can name like 25 different wallets. Do you need DEX Plus for it to be the most efficient way for you? Maybe not. But it is a good stepping stone for somebody that has no idea about what is decentralization in terms of a wallet or DeFi itself. And here's my gateway into that. Yeah. So that sort of answered a bit already. Yeah.
So I think you said that we hit all-time high today, which I didn't even know because
Sure did.
I don't even check the
Come on,
charts anymore.
guys.
But my question is, generally, when we're hitting all-time highs, this room, it's been between 100 to 150 people, and we're at all-time highs, and it feels like we're in the turnout. No offense, guys, thank you for coming. We're all happy that you're here, but normally this would be the type of turnout that we would be getting in a bear market, and we're at all-time highs. So are you also seeing that reflection in terms of the trading volume? Is it because it's only institutional? Do you see retail market? I'm just confused as to why we're all-time highs, but still not having a full stadium.
No, I think you're absolutely correct in a sense that and this is more from a personal perspective, not necessarily, I'm not representing the company in this specific statement, but retail's not here yet, right? If you go down to anywhere down here, we go downstairs down here and we just grab some people out of the front and go, hey, how much do you know about Bitcoin right now? It's going to be low. You're not going to have many people tell you basically anything. If you ask them to name 3 coins, they can't. The only one they can name is Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum. And that's how I know, we're not there yet. Because if anybody's here for the last cycle, you remember, when we were at peak euphoria, it was on everything. Everybody was making, every man and their dog was making different coins. Everybody was making meme coins. On every news channel at every moment, you could find what the price of Bitcoin was. Everybody was reporting on it. And now, exactly, we've 2 days in a row, we've had a Bitcoin all-time high. Does everybody in this room even know that?
I'm getting the notifications. I go, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the only reason people know is because a random exchange app, hey, it's all-time high, and you go, oh, crazy. Yeah. But I think we can all agree, we don't have the same feeling from that we did 4 years ago, where you're like, this is crazy.
I mean, Danielle said something to me privately, if I can repeat it, that maybe the cycle's broken.
So, yeah, is the cycle broken or is it extended? Are we at a point where, so I suppose the difference is, and this is a math equation, right? How much money does it take now to move Bitcoin from where it is to double where it is? So if we're already at a several $1 trillion market cap, how much more money actually has to come in for us to go on a parabolic run like we have before? Whereas if you look back at 2021, so we use 2020, 2020, 2021 alt season. So the reason we had this wild alt season last time from data perspective is alts as a total cap had something like $13 billion worth of size. And then it went from 13 billion to 300 billion. And then everybody was like, obviously that's huge. But now we're like, we're back at that level. We're already at 330 billion for alts, I think, when I looked this morning. And we're already at that level. So we're already at what would have been peak euphoria last time. But the difference is because it's so sparse and it's so spread out, I suppose, money's already in here. We have institutional money in here. Last time it was very heavy retail. Now it's very heavy institutional. So there's a lot more money in here, but it also takes a lot more money to move the market in the same way. So for us to get that same parabolic run, in alts as an example, we have to go from 300 billion to 3 trillion to get that same sort of parabolic. Everybody knows about it. Yes, sir.
Oh, Martin's come good. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
FTX.
Blame for everything.
I blame Channel 9.
Do you see when he posted GM on Twitter? And then it pumped. Yeah, FTX pumped. Yeah, anyway. Or FTT.
I guess I was trying to work out how to weave that into a question. So thank you, Danielle. I guess I've been watching it too, and maybe from a retail perspective or from our perspective, we're being subdued because when we did have the big institutional investing, it did not move the market that much, and so we were being a little bit more cautious. But I do absolutely buy that we don't have the retail coming in yet. That's because our whales control the media. when the whales get in and really arc up the media and you find it on billboards and CNBC and whatever, that's when we can quietly cheer, I would imagine. But at the moment, we don't have that. So we're not going, we're sort of going, yay, rather than yay. Do you have a forecast when that might be?
Oh, God. What a question.
There's got to be a question.
No financial advice.
No, yeah, everything in this presentation is not financial advice, of course. So, like, it's this, like we say this every time, like, oh, this time it's different. Like, look, maybe somewhat it is a little bit different this time because, you know, we have so much funds in there in terms of institutional money, you know, people's retirement funds, 401ks, all that sort of stuff are now being funneled in there. However, we're still on the precipice of a lot more because, as I said, it's something like 8% of the globe currently owns cryptocurrency in any form. 8%. Like that's not much, really. So you think when we get to this point where we're at payment rails and we're at all that sort of stuff, where everybody is using crypto but doesn't even know. And the perfect example of this is like, do you guys know anything about Visa and how it works? Like how many transactions per second and all that sort of stuff. And like most people just go, oh, you just have a card, it just taps and it works. Like they don't realize that behind that system there's a X amount of transactions per second, and that's why sometimes you have to wait a little bit longer for your transaction to go through because you're in a queue. Like you don't understand that because you just don't know because it just works. And once we get to that point where cryptocurrencies like that, like that's when the boat will have well and truly left. But we're not even anywhere near that at this stage because people don't even know it exists. But I think we're in that transition period where the engine behind everything is picking up all the biscuits and going, okay, we're putting these things in place so that can operate and all us guppies on the surface can just then have it in the background and miss out on all the stuff that was the start. So then to come back to a prediction, nobody knows. So I think the most common thing that people have been saying is sort of like we get a pump towards the end of the year, you know, October, of course, which, I mean, everybody said that ironically. It's, it's October, and then it's like, oh, we're at all-time highs. Maybe it is October. So if you look at data, though, usually Bitcoin will put its low in within the first 10 days of the month. So this could be a rough 3 days. Just see how we go. Like, maybe not. It could be great. Who knows? But, yeah, so I don't think we're at a stage where we have like that massive ball busting pullbacks down 80% anymore on Bitcoin specifically. On alts, I think that'll still happen, absolutely. But on Bitcoin, yeah, well, that's right. We're already at the ball busted for alts. But for BTC, even for ETH, because there's so much reliance on how it works and how it's going to be inputted, I see two parts to this. One would be we don't have the pullbacks anywhere near like we used to. And because in order for institutional money to feel good in there, we have to have some level of stability. So maybe it's 20, 30% swings, which is still pretty big. That would be one path. Or we go the extreme other, which is because we have so many digital asset treasuries, what happens when they start to get liquidated, and then we go off a cliff. Those would be the two things that I would see. But same again, like for myself personally, I'm happy to just trade the market structure when we start getting divergences, when we start getting lower highs. Like that would be the time to maybe start to pull some stuff out. But that's also coincides with when Coinbase is the top app on thing. That's when your neighbor starts ringing you and asking you about how to buy crypto and all that sort of stuff. All these things coincide as top signals. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's...
Anyway, so no, we've got to rug it here. We've
been hearing from someone, how long have you been in the space? 10 years plus?
Something like that.
We've been hearing from someone who has been around quite a while. I know some of you have as well, and that doesn't necessarily count for a lot. But I think the wisdom that Jory has espoused tonight has been pretty impactful. And I'm sure there's going to be more over networking drinks later, unless Jory has to go home to the kids and family.
I've got nowhere to be.
But in the meantime,
I've been kids enough in the
I'm
last 2 weeks.
going to wrap. Thanks. Big round of applause for Jory from MEXC.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jory. That was great. Thank you. And this has been All Things Blockchain for October 2025 with MEXC. Thank you and good night.